Hello and welcome to our video on an introduction to area and conversion of units. Area is measured in square units. That means when we write the units, instead of just writing centimeters and meters, we write centimeters squared, meters squared, millimeters squared, and kilometers squared. You can see that it is measured in square units by looking at the area of a square. And if we look at this square that I've drawn here, it's 2 meters on each side, and the little ticks, remember, mean that each side is exactly the same length. And when we look at the area of this square, it equals length by width, which are both the same in this example, 2 meters. And I'm putting the units in here, 2 meters times 2 meters. When we times the 2 by 2, if we think of this like an algebra problem, times the 2 by 2 we get 4, and times m by m and we get m squared, meters squared. Another way you can see this is looking at the number of smaller squares, because area is the number of smaller squares within a bigger square. So if each side is 2 meters, then you can see we end up with 4 little squares altogether, which makes it 4 meters squared. Now looking at converting units of area, you might remember our conversion table from converting units of length, and I've copied it here for you again, where we needed to, if we're going this direction, from kilometers to meters, times by 1,000, or 100, or by 10, and going back this direction is dividing. The only difference, and I've written it this way so it can help you remember the table, and you don't need to memorize 3 or 4 different tables, you can just look at the difference between them. So once you've got the length one memorized, when we're doing area, we need to add in here square units. So it's kilometers squared, meters squared, centimeters squared, millimeters squared. Okay, that bit's easy. Now because we've added squares on here, we need to add squares on here. 100 squared, 10 squared, and when we divide by squares as well. And there's your conversion diagram for converting units of area. So instead of typing in times 10, you just type times 10 squared into your calculator. I've got a couple of examples here. And what we're going to do is convert the areas to the units shown. First example is 2.5 centimeters squared converted to millimeters squared, or square millimeters we usually say when we're saying it out loud. Okay, first thing we need to do is check our conversion table. So we're going from centimeters squared to millimeters squared. Here's centimeters, here's millimeters. So what we need to do is times by 10 squared. So we write out the original. .5 square centimeters equals 2.5 times 10 squared from up here, and that'll change it into square millimeters. Now the units is just square millimeters. We don't need to square again. You don't need to square this number again. Put this into our calculator. You can, or you could, 10 squared is 100. So timesing this by 100 would be moving the decimal point. I'll just rewrite it over here. Moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. 1, 2. We need a 0 there. And we're going to get 250 square millimeters. Done. Example 2 is changing 2 million square centimeters into square kilometers. So start out by writing out the original number, 2 million centimeters squared equals, so we're going from centimeters squared to kilometers, centimeters squared to kilometers. We're going to have to go 2 steps here. First step is to divide by 100. So it's going to equal 2 million divided by 100 squared, which is here, 100 squared. And that's going to change it into meters squared. If we're dividing this, look, decimal points here. Dividing by 100 squared is going to get us 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So we're going to end up with 200 meters squared. Now to change square meters into kilometers, square kilometers, we need to divide by 1,000 squared. Divided by 1,000, whoops, that's only 100. 1,000 squared to make it kilometers squared. And you might find it easier to do this one on your calculator because we're going to have to go 6 decimal places this way. And we end up with .0002 kilometers squared. And that's your final answer. Thanks for listening to the video.